Hi everyone, Damon Still here with Emotiva Audio. I'm going to show you how to install our rack mount kits. So I have a URL4 here for our XPA series amplifiers. The 4RU designates the height of the chassis. And then I have a URL2 here to go on a 2RU width chassis. All right, so I have unboxed the units here. We have the 4RU. I've already pulled out of the box. I've cut the tape just to speed things along here a little bit. They are taped up rather well. There are two sets of screws included in the unit. This is more for the old style rack kits where you have the inserts and the square holes and you have the rack mount screws. This is really not used today with today's racks. Today's racks have pre-drilled holes and the correct spacing. So, but you will be using these, and these are like a panhead type screw. They look similar to the thread type as what comes in the chassis, but they have a panhead instead of the acorn style flush screw, and they're a little longer. So you'll want to focus on these. Just throw these in the garbage. All right. All right, and then get out your rack mount. Okay, and at this point, I like to lay the rack mount on the unit, and I can see, and I'm going to inspect the screws that need to be removed to fit the chassis, the rack kit. So I'm looking on the front here, I'm lining this up with the face, okay? Not with the trim kits, don't bring it up here, okay? It should be back here, flush with the face of the unit. And I'm looking down in here and I see that one and that one, that one, that one, that one, and that one, okay? So I'm gonna set this off to the side. I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna remove these. Don't worry, your amp won't fall apart by removing these screws. I do like that torque setting on the driver, that way I don't over torque things. All right, strip heads, mess up things. Oh, and maybe as this close-up shot here, you can see where I cut the tape. So do be cautious, your razor blade. You don't get too happy there as you're unpackaging. Anyway, all right, so I'm just gonna kind of lightly put these in just for alignment. Oh, and these are the panhead screws that we spoke about earlier in the little pack, a little blister pack there. Sometimes you'll have leftovers for some chassis. Sometimes you'll use all of them, but don't worry yourself for that too much. We make the blaster pack for all the units. So, all right, so now at this point, I like to line up the rack gear with the front face here. So I'm good and smooth there. Hold it in place really securely, and then snug the screw down. I've got two more here. Go across this top edge. All right, easy peasy. Nice flush. All right, so we have our URL4s mounted on the XPA amplifier. Now we're going to move over to the Basics A300 and mount our URL2 rack gears on this unit. So flip it up on its side. We've got the rack gears unboxed here and unwrapped. Remember these old style rack Mac mounts, I don't use those, just throw them away. And then these are the screws that you will need to mount the 2RU to the chassis. Now there are a couple extra screws in here, don't worry for that, they're leftovers. These screws are a little bit longer, so you will want to use these versus the one that come out of the chassis. And we'll show that later, but as I go to mount this up, you want the lip of the bracket to go up under. Again, I like to lay this on here. This is pretty obvious on this unit itself. It only has 2 screws, so there's not much option there, but there are several holes in this bracket because it's universal for many of our chassis, many of our product line. So I want to lay this guy on here, line up the front, okay, where it looks pretty flush, and then I peer down in the holes. Obviously there's only 2 screws here, so that's pretty obvious. But we'll recognize the screw holes out of all the screw holes that we'll be using. We'll use those 2, okay? And then pull the screws out. And again, the new screws are a little longer than the old screws, so we'll just discard those. Yeah, maybe not necessarily just get rid of them, but so then you line that back up, lightly put them in, line up your front face real nice and straight. And then secure the screws down nice and tight, and you are all set. All right, thank you so much for joining us today. I hope this was informative for you. So we've got the URL4 rack mounts on the XPA series 4RU chassis, and then we have the URL2 rack mounts on the 2RU chassis. That's the screws we removed to put the brackets on. And so thank you so much for joining us today. Have a wonderful day.